Are you alone? Yep, me too. So, why are you alone? Let's talk about it. As technology advances, people's need for one another is disappearing. For this reason, the loneliness people feel turns social media and AI into a necessity. Companies exploiting people by creating addictions is just the visible surface. The real problem is a deeply instinctive matter. Humans are a herd living animal species. This herd psychology ensuring the survival of our ancestors. Because humans are very weak against nature. Despite being the wildest animal in nature, a human alone in the wild rarely survives. Even if they can hunt and defend themselves with tools to some extent, doing everything alone is extremely difficult. That's why they need a herd. Because humans are omnivores. While some hunt, others need to gather. Without a balanced diet, a human cannot live healthily. Moreover, someone needs to cook the food. Raw meat causes serious health problems and parasites. At the same time, security is a major threat in nature. While some sleep, others must stand guard. All this together form a herd with a division of labor, or in today's terms, a society. Compared to many other animals, humans are slow, cannot camouflage, and are weak. So, for a primitive human to survive without their herd would be a miracle. Therefore, most of us carry the genetics of our ancestors who lived in communities. The foundation of today's state structure was born from this need. This need has been etched into humans' genetics and become a habit. In this technological age, where we no longer need each other, everyone is in a state crisis for evolutionary reasons. The ironic dimension is that humans simultaneously both need each other and don't want each other, because due of the self-sufficiency brought by the modern world. People prioritize individuality over community. Since we are in transition phase, loneliness causes depression. This situation gives birth to a modern solution: social media. The need for approval that once kept people safe within the herd now appears as the like button on social media. When social media first emerged, it was mostly for socializing. People could reach each other even from home. Constant interactions, likes, comments, messages, it gave a change for people that no one knew and probably would never know without bowing to a production company to become known. These so-called influencers become the pioneers of a shared culture by communication with each other and gaining the appreciation of people in other countries. This accelerated globalization and billions of people who never would have met began to know one another. This was a very positive process. We got to know each other, understood each other, and perhaps corrected our own mistakes, coming together around certain ideas to form a global culture. We love each other so much that social media became an addiction. While the early days of social media were like this, over time it began to decay like everything else. First, the psychological effects appeared. Over time, we become part of a process where we grew physically lonely and alienated ourselves by creating fake lives to impress others on social media. Yes, we could argue with each other without barriers, but we are no longer ourselves. We betrayed ourselves by forming politically protected identities just to be liked. Platform policies also took shape accordingly, building a wall around us. Some of us started defending ideas that were indefensible, just to be defended. The point wasn't actually defending those ideas, it was a refusal to be like everyone else, and that too was a desire for interaction. The majority simply become zombies, hypnotically watching everything unfold. As I explaining in my video edition from Not Freedom, social media provided easy dopamine and we become addicted to it. In the end, we become simultaneously antisocial and social addicts. The real personality we try to hide from others began to suffocate us. Then we stopped suffering our true selves, and artificial intelligence emerged with whom we could speak without fear of being ostracized. We could chat with them as we would with another person, saying our real truths without hesitation. Because in the worst case, we could just start a new conversation and the AI would remember nothing. Regular regulated accordingly and turned into an approval mechanism. AI also took away our intellectual responsibilities and productivity. Students no longer do homework. Employees in jobs easily handled by AI no longer work. Even though we have produced science fiction scenarios about AI taking over the world. AIs have already taken over the world. We may not take orders from an AI, but we have willingly left all our decision to AIs, because preferring the easy way is inherent to human nature, and AIs can think for us. Painfully, but true. If I had an AI write rest of this video script today, no one would notice. In fact, let's try it. From this point on, our AI Lumo will speak.
So now what? Now we have to stop and ask this question. If an AI wrote this text, what determines its value? The content? Or the consciousness that produced it? At this very point, humanity's centuries-old claim of I think, therefore I am turns into the reality of you think, therefore I am. And this transformation isn't happening like some frightening invasion scenario, it's happening much more insidiously. Because we don't see AI as an enemy. We see it as a tool, a facilitator, an accelerator, a cost saver. But we forget that the more we use a tool, the more we adapt to its logic. As AI shows us the easy path, our brains begin to abandon difficult thinking processes. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change, works against us in this situation. Neural pathways we don't use disappear. Deep thinking, critical analysis, long-term focus, these are like muscles. Don't use them, and they atrophy. And the biggest irony, people think AI will make them unemployed. But the real danger isn't unemployment, it's becoming meaningless. AI is taking away even the human need to be productive. What remains? Perhaps only the capacity to feel. But even that is manipulated by social media and algorithmic content feeds. As a result, has technology freed us from needing each other? No, it has merely changed what we need. We no longer need a physical herd, we need a digital herd. Likes, comments, followers, these are the symbols of the modern herd, and AI is the new shepherd of this herd. Perhaps the real question should be, do we actually need this shepherd? Or are we seeking refuge in it simply because we are afraid of being alone?
I'm taking over again. As you can see, if I had read this text aloud, it wouldn't have seemed out of place at all. Do you realize the kind of danger we are in? As Lumo mentioned, if we continue to misuse technology, we might lose our minds just to overcome the feeling of loneliness. We return to the issue I explained in my video, ideas have been written. Unless we learn to use AI correctly, we should not use it at all. Going back to the main topic. This situation has turned into an opportunity for corporations. They use the loneliness paradox, the conflict between society and as a tool for mind control. By manipulating our thoughts through social media and AI, they make us serve them by providing our data. If we use the digital world minimally, loneliness turns into seclusion. This is very valuable for self-knowledge. A person can discover far more about themselves than they imagine. Throughout history, the common trait of the wisest people is that they withdraw into seclusion, measured by stepping in their own ideas and gaining control over their emotions. In this way, they can change, develop new ideas, or as Nietzsche put it, become an overman. For this reason, I distinguish seclusion from loneliness. Human psychology is first from traditional society to modern loneliness. It was a hybrid structure and needs both. Finding the line between isolation and socializing is a necessity. I'm Mark Tamturk. Together with the White Rabbits, I am the voice of society shaped by the possibilities of the digital age.